Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you very much for joining me here. I hope you're having an amazing day. We're going to take another look here at Gala, see kind of what's going on. Obviously, we see a recovery here today. I want to talk about that just so you understand the big picture, essentially what's going to happen in the near future, or more importantly, what could happen more so, right? Because there's no guarantees in crypto, but all we can do is kind of stack the favor, in our stack the odds in our favor essentially and make sure we have a better, more well-informed decision. So if you like this channel or perhaps you want to become a better trader, consider joining. I do have a crypto cash trading academy as well as, of course, a community where you can learn and grow and become a better trader. I also send out signals for every single trade that I take so you can kind of understand what that looks like, how to structure your trades effectively. Right? That's the whole purpose of that, is to ensure you know. So obviously, to jump right in here, we're back above the one-day, basically 50-day set moving average on the one-day chart. This is a good sign, ultimately, a positive. You can see it was working previously as a resistance. Granted, this one-day candlestick hasn't closed yet. The trading day is still young. We've got about 8 to 10 hours left of trading left, but keep in mind, it's likely going to close above that. And if it does, that'd be a very positive sign. Now, granted, that doesn't mean we're out of the woods and it's just going to shoot straight up from here, but it's a positive indication letting us know that we're on the right side of the tracks. Okay. Same thing with 50 on the RSI. We basically had a bounce off of 50 on the RSI, which is extremely important, basically telling us that the price is neither oversold nor overbought, pretty much fair to Midland, but it's on the right side there, essentially telling us that we're more bullish than bearish. And that's what we want to try to identify. In most cases, when we're looking at these different time frames, we're just trying to identify, what type of trends that we're in, which side are we on right now? Because the important thing to invest is to make sure that you're on the right side of the tracks. You'll hear me say that a lot. And basically, just you want to ensure that you get in when the bulls are in control. If you're taking a long position, obviously, if you're taking a short position, you wait for the bears to be in control. That's that whole concept. Because we don't control the market. The market leaders do, industry leaders, whales, whatever you want to call them. So we kind of got to identify when they're in control and which direction they're choosing and then go with them. That's the whole purpose, essentially, of identifying which side of the tracks you're on, if you hear me say that. So just so you know, that's kind of what I'm referring to. In this sense here, we're also positive as well. We look at the 50-day set moving average on the 4-hour chart. We're also trending above that. It's a very, very good sign. Now, it's only been trending above for roughly about one trading day. It's not enough data to officially say that's holding, but it is a good sign. It's a step in the right direction. Just bear in mind, we are a bit on the overextended side because I was just covering Bitcoin recently, and we just hit a 9 on TD sequential, saw a turnaround. And with Bitcoin kind of trending downwards right now, tentatively, we can see that we're going to probably see somewhat of a consolidation here, right? So the key takeaway here is I believe that if we can get the price to essentially come no lower than the most recent, the previous high rather, at about 31.5 cents, then we'll be in pretty good shape. So we don't want to see the price come back down too low. If it were to come down and bounce off of 31, that'd be perfect. Okay, then we can continue to make higher highs and higher lows as we have been tentatively in the last 24 to 40 hours, right? So all good stuff there in that sense. I don't see anything really adverse here on, the 4-hour, except the fact that we are overextended. We should expect a pullback. We're over 50 on the RSI, extremely important. I'd like to see that. We had a MACD convergence yesterday as well that occurred right as soon as, of course, Bitcoin took off. And that was right after, pretty close to roughly the same time frame that we had neutral news in the, overall for everything happening in the Eastern Hemisphere of the world, as well as no real feedback on the inflation. So those things kind of coming to fruition, so to speak, with everything kind of being held down recently, I think it's more likely to expect the price to continue to increase in the near future, pending no craziness with the news, right? So if we have no crazy news, the technical charts are telling us that we should expect to see a continuation to the upside, right? Because again, there's really nothing bearish here that we can see really at this point, okay? At least on the 1 day and the 4-hour. 1 hour might be a different story. We can see, of course, we got a state of consolidation here. Price is going sideways after hitting a 9 on TD sequential, and we keep getting these resets around 3s and 4s. That's pretty standard right now, essentially trying to accumulate at a price point that's close to a resistance level. At least that's where Bitcoin is at, right? Now, when it comes to Gala, is it doing something similar? Sort of. I mean, we can see, of course, if we kind of pull this back over and we look at the Fibonacci retracement level, we kind of just extend it out a little further. Yes, it's testing a key level resistance here, which is roughly about 35 cents. Correction, 34.3. So we can round down, let's just say 34 cents to keep it simple. 34 cents is a resistance level, okay? Potentially. So in other words, if the price were to basically get rejected out there, which it has so far, and the price were to come back down, we could see a bounce. And as long as the next high, the next push up, the next leg up is higher than 35 cents as a rough estimate, then we'll be in pretty darn good shape. Okay, we'll see, keep seeing higher highs and higher lows essentially. But all in all, I don't see anything currently that's really adverse. I mean, we do have a potential close of a signal here in the next 6 hours. So just say the price were to continue to go sideways or down, the Ichimoku cloud would be telling us to close our position because it hasn't had a chance to continue to leg up again, right? In other words, we got the lagging span that's going to intersect with the price action. If it were to do that, that effectively causes a sell signal with the cloud. In other words, basically just telling you that it's lost its momentum, and if it's going to come back down, then you're probably better off taking your profits in the near future. Now, you don't have to necessarily do that. Obviously, it depends on your overall position, your risk tolerance. There's a lot of factors involved. But if you bought somewhere down in the range of 27 cents or 28, 29, and you're up at about 33 right now, perhaps consider taking some profit. Try not to be too greedy because the pullback, we expect it to continue to come down. And what I mean by that, of course, is just that we look at TD sequential, the price is coming back down. We hit a 9, and obviously we're seeing this correction. Now, it could just go sideways and leg up again. We never truly know, right? But everything else that we've seen here so far shows us that we're, I wouldn't say extremely overextended, but we're at an 8 on the 4-hour TD sequential, telling us that at best we have 1 more hour worth of continuation, or sorry, 1 more candlestick, 4 more hours of continuation. However, we just saw a 9 here recently, so the possibility of it shooting straight up from here is lower, even though I would like to see that and it could potentially happen, right? I know it sounds contradictory, of course, and that's how trading is for the most part. There's never any guarantees. But if we look at the big picture, the overall momentum is moving up. But on the short term, we can see that we've hit a point of resistance, specifically on Bitcoin as well as Gala. And those Fibonacci retracement lines are basically telling us, hey, we shouldn't expect the price to go much further from here. In other words, if the price were to come back down, which it's trending towards, right, in the immediate future, then we should expect to see the price come down to maybe a key level support here, right around 31. It may even bounce somewhere off about 32, which once again is the most recent high. See? So there's a good chance we'll see a nice little support channel here where the price were to come down. It shouldn't come much lower than 31/32. If it were to, of course, then we'd be making, we wouldn't, well, we would still be making higher highs and higher lows. So technically that wouldn't be a bad thing. But we don't really want to see it come much lower. I don't think that's a very strong likelihood. Again, pending Bitcoin doesn't do anything stupid here in the near future. I can't. I've lost track of how many times I said that, right? But generally speaking, pending Bitcoin doesn't do anything crazy and just kind of performs its natural function on its way up. We should expect Gala at the very worst to come down into the range of 31 to 32 and to bounce off of that range. That's my speculation here. Once again, it may not even come down that low. This might just be a nice healthy consolidation between 33 and 34, and we might see another leg up. But ultimately, I am bullish on Gala on the short term here. The macro looks very good as well. So, again, my anticipation for Bitcoin is that it's going to continue to test key level resistances. 44,400, we get a close above that today. That'd be a very, very positive sign, as well as 46,000 or higher. We're just going to probably face a lot of resistance between 46 and 50 for Bitcoin. So just know if that were to happen and Gala were to kind of try to progress upwards, we could also see some resistance between 39 and 46 for Gala, right? It's almost essentially a very similar equivalent. So obviously, Gala isn't exactly the same as Bitcoin, but it's very similar, right? Most coins right now are having this significant type of pattern. It's just a matter of how much higher Bitcoin goes. If Bitcoin can break its most recent high, right around 45,800, right in that range, almost 46, then we'll be in really, really good shape to see that continuation. Again, Bitcoin is not overexhausted at on the macro. Micro, a little bit more so. Okay, so again, next 12 to 24 hours, we could expect to see a pullback, a natural red day, and then of course an increase from there. And when I say natural red day, it's not, this candlestick should not turn red. Again, unless something crazy happens with Bitcoin, we shouldn't expect to see a strong pullback. What I mean by red day is just that, we need to see some red on the cards here in order to kind of fulfill this little gap here that needs to, we need more volume at this price point for it to leg up comfortably. All right. So again, that's just kind of where we're at here for Gala. All in all, more positive than negative. If you were to consider some dollar cost average targets, just kind of throw that out there because I like this question a lot. 30 and 27 are still good DCA targets from previous iterations of my videos, right? So just so you know, if the price were to come back down, it wouldn't be terrible to set your your limit orders at that point. But I think it's more likely for the price to continue up from here. It's just a matter of how high it will go. Gala's recovered quite nicely here recently. I do think that just keep in mind this as well. When Bitcoin was selling off, and it wasn't that strong of a sell-off, Gala was selling off pretty strong. So we can understand, and I think it's important to note that Gala is 2.5 to 3x of Bitcoin right now. And in that sense, if Bitcoin goes up by 2%, we can expect a 6 to 10% increase from Gala. It's just one of those scenarios where it's going to be a little bit more on the extreme side. So just be ready for some kind of I wouldn't say bumpy ride, but it could be interesting in the next few days. I'm not particularly sold on the fact that the news hasn't, impacted things adversely yet. There's a lot of factors that we haven't factored in yet that we can't because they haven't come to fruition. So keep in mind, I would say take this with a grain of salt. We should expect the price to go up from here. Once again, as long as there's no nonsense in the news. Okay. That's my 2 cents. Hopefully you learned something here today. I do appreciate you obviously joining me, of course, and we'll look forward to seeing you next video. If you're not currently a community member, consider joining. Link in the description below. CryptoCache.tech. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. We'll see you soon. Take care.